Welcome, welcome. So great to see you. So first of all, lovely to see you, Ella. Hello, Dan B. How's it going?
Yeah, good, thanks. How are you doing?
Yeah, very good. Very good. Good to see you. Lovely to see you, Amber, again. How are you today?
Hi, I'm good, thank you.
Good, good. I saw all the stuff with the radio awards. Well done for covering that. Heather, it's fantastic to see you again. How are you?
Good, thank you. Yeah, doing well.
Great. New angle on the videos. So changed the room. It's great to see Alexander Frey, a good old stalwart of the Winchester Creatives volunteer team. How are you, Alexander?
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm very good, thanks. Staying busy.
So if people don't know, Alex is a phenomenal video content producer who was part of our original Winchester Creatives volunteer team. And due to his sheer expertise, talent, he's managed to do a lot of work for Winchester College and doing some great, phenomenal work there. So it's lovely to see you here. And if you have seen any of the video content going out or animations, that's Alexander's fine work, informed by the great branding work that Dan B and the rest of the volunteer team did. So give it a collar, give it a cheer on social media. Georgie Hanley, lovely to see you. How are you?
Hi, good, thank you.
Good to see you. I hear you and Hannah had a nice walk the other month or a few weeks ago.
Yeah, it was nice to have a little chat and get to know each other a bit.
Okay, wonderful. So if people didn't know, one of the beauties of Winchester Creatives is the fact that we can create serendipity. So in the absence of having a kind of really thorough kind of embedded kind of community culture, sometimes by doing these online calls, you can basically put people in contact with each other. And it turned out that Georgie Hanley was literally living less than 1 minute away from each other, if not 30 seconds from each other, in the same village just outside of Winchester, but they didn't know of each other, and they got to know each other and had a bit of a walk. Lovely to see you, David Livingston. How are you today?
Good, all good. Yeah, fine.
Yeah, good. So thank you.
At the end of the day.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming to join us. We know these sessions are under an uncivilized time.
And if what's written is quite factual.
But thank you for joining us. And also, if people don't know, David Livingston was doing fantastically well with our Christmas quiz, our Kahoot quiz, until he was, from his perspective, unfairly trumped by, I think it was Hannah Ranking, wasn't it? Was it Hannah who went? Well, yeah, she took it there. When we do another quiz, we'll make sure we'll give you some easier questions, David. And if you don't know, David is a very kind mentor to our mentees and has been helping for the last 5 months one of our mentees. So thank you for that. It's lovely to see you, Martin, as ever. How are you?
Good, doing well. Yeah,
good. So how's the last few weeks been?
Okay, not too bad. More than halfway through the semester now. So
indeed. Well, and I just don't know about. We were just talking about from our side. We cannot wait. We're counting down the minutes, the seconds until we can all go to a pub garden and have a nice pint and see each other and potentially meet in person. I think it was T-3 weeks for that to happen. I'm just going to say a quick hello to Ashley Hours. How are you, Ash?
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, great to see you. Thank you for coming to join us today. Really appreciate that. Please feel free to let us know any questions. But if people don't know, Ash is part of our mentee sets and has been a fantastic contributor to the community since we started. Michael, welcome. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Please introduce yourself, and I'd love to find out a bit more about you and how you found out more about Winchester Creatives and why you're here. It'd be lovely to.
Well, I know Neil. That's why I'm here. So, so Neil knows my brother-in-law, and we met about a year ago actually online, and I've been stalking him. So, and I saw this pop up and decided to join. So.
When you have a big ticket speaker when he brings his own groupies along.
Good networking stories.
Wonderful.
We haven't met in person yet.
We haven't, no.
Yeah, this is the weirdness of this whole lockdown. I mean, we've just been delivering projects for clients, and who are delighted with the work and things like that. And then you realise that the team that's worked on it has never actually met each other in person and don't know. Suddenly people are going to meet each other and think they're going to be taller or shorter than they are in real life, or that they've got legs. But anyway, without further ado, I'm going to just hand over, if it's okay, to either Ella, Matt, or Dan B. Don't want to put you on the spot, but I just wondered if you could give us a quick update with where are we with the Mend the Gap campaign, what's happening in Winchester Creatives, give a sense of the buzz and the activity we're doing, and if there's a call to action that you want this group to be involved in, please let them know, and then we'll crack on with the main talk. Shall I hand over to Ella?
Yeah, of course. We are in the final weeks now of our Mend the Gap campaign. So we are just really trying to get that message out there as much as possible. We have every Friday, we've got really exciting chats going on Instagram. So if you can tune into them, please do. This week, we've got a woman called Teresa Chambers, and she is the recruitment expert for the Fashion Retail Academy, which is a specialised institute to help students get into the fashion industry. So she should be able to give us a really good perspective on recruitment, on how students can get into that kind of space, and how recruiters have adapted over the last 12 months. And then the week after that, we're going to have a hot seat, which should be really fun because we're going to put Richard, Dan, Matt, Dan B and Ellie all under the spotlight and ask them some tricky questions. So that should be fun. But definitely tune into that. And we have loads of other really good things going out on all of our social platforms. So just make sure to keep sharing it, keep checking it out, because that's what really counts for us, and just keep spreading the message.
Thank you. And just before I turn over, I'll come to Matt and Dan if they want to add anything to that. Can you just give a flavour of some of the wonderful Instagram sort of lives that you've done? Because you've had a few over the last few weeks and months, and it'd be good to give a flavour to some of the people here who may have missed them.
Yeah, so they're all on Instagram, so you can go back and watch them if you have missed them. We've had the lovely Matt on. We've had Hannah Sloan, another mentee. We've had Jasmine, who is the founder of a platform called Find Your Intern, and that's all about finding internships and early entry careers. And she creates so many good resources for that. So it was really great to have a chat with her. We also spoke to the Kickstart director for Portsmouth Creates. So he gave us loads of background on kind of funding, on creating community through creativity, and how Portsmouth are doing things. And so we can steal a few of ideas from him for Winchester. So that was really good. So definitely check that one out as well. And we also had my mentor on, which was Natalie Hamer. And so it's great to hear her journey as a mentor, and hear about her founding Maven, which is a co-working space. So yeah, they're all on Instagram. Go watch them. They're not too long. They're nice and bite-sized, and they're just a nice way to round up your Friday afternoon.
Thank you for that, Ella. Matt or Dan B, would either of you like to add anything to that?
Not much to add, really. Ella, you've done a cracking job of summarising it there. I mean, I've been sitting on the back seat just watching these guys crack on with the campaign and pushing their content out, and it's getting good reach, and we're producing good content. So feeling a bit anxious about that Instagram live, but I'm sure it'll be all right on the day.
And Matt, would you like to say anything onto that?
Yeah. So we're basically just wrapping up the Mend the Gap campaign, and we're really just sort of looking back at all the work that we've done to, at the end of the day, we're just trying to provide opportunities for graduates, and we're really pleased with the work that we've done so far. So we're just sort of wrapping up work on the Mend the Gap campaign for that. I just wanted to ask a favor of everybody, just for the benefit of social media, as it were, if everyone would mind just sort of smiling or waving for the camera so I can put it on the LinkedIn. Yeah. If that's all good. All right, so we'll see 3, 2, 1. Oh, and then one more. You could do a different position, something silly. Doesn't matter, guys. Just big smiles. 3, 2, 1. Thank you very much, guys. I'll stop bothering you now.
Well done for remembering.
Thank you.
And just in ahead of Ella's very ambitious sort of Instagram live, trying to get 5 of us on. There's no way there's going to be any technical glitches or hitches, and there's no way that we're going to all turn up in different fancy dress costumes to see if we can make you giggle. So, without further ado, when we started this cohort of Winchester Creatives, we asked people in an open questionnaire what were the things that they most wanted to learn about. And on the first thing that they really wanted to learn about was about resilience and mindset, and how to effectively get themselves in the right mindset to cope with sort of uncertainty and sort of, lockdown. And so aptly, the second talk that we did was with Hazel Anderson Turner, helping our young mentees and our volunteers and anyone involved in this initiative to basically navigate through changing times and uncertainty. The second thing that they mentioned was, how do we basically get our applications better to get a job and become more employable? And so our third talk we had, which was with the wonderful Catherine Strachan, was to give us sort of tips and tricks as to how we might become improve our applications for sort of jobs. And we've had different talks around strength and diversity and various things. But the third thing that all of our mentees wanted to find out about was this topic, which is networking. It's something that we do in our everyday lives. We get to meet new people, they get to know us, and we do it naturally. But when it comes into a business context, it's easily for us to feel frozen. We sometimes get stuck in fear. We don't know how to say something or introduce ourselves or to extract the right information. And the truth that you will find out is a large proportion of people do not find networking a natural thing to do. And there's both an art and a science to it. And so we thought it would be a good time to introduce Neil Munz-Jones, who not only is somebody who has gone through that transition of understanding the reluctance that comes around to needing to network, but also what he's done is he's actually literally written the book on how to become a really effective networker, which is called The Reluctant Networker. And I'll give a sense of the range of things that Neil is involved in. So he's a director of MDJ2 Associates. It's a consulting company that's founded in 2005 to help retail and consumer-facing businesses to get stuff done more quickly. He's had a range of different clients that he'll talk to about. And he's basically won all of his business through effective networking. He's a business coach, he's a mentor, and he's been published in many, many different publications, such as the Financial Times, the Sunday Times, the Daily Telegraph. He's been referenced on the BBC Radio, and he attends many QA forums and networking blogs. So he's also a passionate person who believes in local talent. So he is one of the, how I got to know Neil is he recently joined our Alliance for Hampshire Jobs discussion, where we asked people in leadership positions who had a passion for helping young people get jobs and become more employable in this post-pandemic world. And when you put that call out, it's really the kind people who recognize how important that is. So he has a fantastic educational background. He has a fantastic perspective when it comes to authoring this book. But not only that, he's a wonderful, nice, kind and compassionate man. And without further ado, I'd like you to hand you over to the wonderful, the magnificent, the fantastic Neil Munz-Jones.
Wow. Thank you. That was quite a build-up. So I'll do my best not to disappoint. So we've got, so we've got an hour. I'm going to try and make this as interactive as possible. So we're going to have a breakout group. But in the meantime, if you've got any questions, just stick them in the chat or put your hand up. You know, it's important to get everybody talking about this topic and not have me just lecturing at you for an hour. So I'm going to share my screen because I have got a few slides to help structure the discussion. So hopefully everybody can see that okay. There we go. So yeah, it's all good. So we're going to talk about networking in the current climate, because obviously it is a bit different at the moment with doing things online and not having any meetings. And I want to I think we've got this great opportunity as we come out of lockdown to kind of get the best of both the digital world and the physical world. So I've got some sort of top 10 tips, and we'll have a Q&A as well. So quick introduction, and then what I'm going to do is I'll introduce all 10, but then I've just picked 3 that I want to talk a bit about, and then so that we stop and you all get a chance to talk, we'll go into a 10-minute breakout session. Got 3 questions for you all to discuss, and then when we come back, one of the questions is, which are the other 7 tips do you want me to talk a bit more about, and if you've got any other questions. And then we can finish off. So I've sent this to Richard. If anybody's interested in moving into action, there's a pretty simple little template that you're very welcome to have to just help guide you a bit about how can I become a more effective networker? What am I specifically going to do in the next couple of months? Okay. So a little bit about me. Unlike as what Richard said, I'm not going to talk all about my clients, but I spent 20 years after university in a real mix of careers. I worked in banking, I worked in manufacturing, I ran a doorbell manufacturing company up in Stockport, which was quite an experience. And then in retail, the reason I'm down in Hampshire is my last, what I call proper job. I worked at B&Q and their head office is in Chandler's Ford. So that's how I ended up in Hampshire. I've been here since 2004, but I left B&Q in 2005 and I've been freelancing ever since, so 15, 16 years. Married, and I've got 3 sons. My eldest is 22. He was with us for a year in lockdown, and I've just taken him up to London. So he's left the nest, much to his mother's disappointment. And then I've got 1 at uni, and my youngest is nearly 18, doing his A-levels. On the right, so just a little bit about what I do. So I think sort of the 2 kind of on the left-hand side, this retail consumer consulting, that's what I started in 2005, working with people like B&Q, helping them help you get more done, do a lot of work in strategy and change. Where I'm moving more to is the stuff on the right-hand side, which is more about one-to-one sort of personal development, which I think is where I'm more passionate. So last year, I went on the Henley Business School, have a very good coaching program. So I've started to do some coaching and some mentoring. And then the reason that I'm here is this book. So I wrote The Reluctant Networker in 2010. And have subsequently, do a few talks about networking from a reluctant perspective, and trying to share not only my experiences, but I've talked to a lot of talks. I think it's over 50 now, and people tell me their stories of what worked and what doesn't work. And so it's just about trying to share best practice and help people embrace the opportunity. And I think the key bit is that sentence at the bottom: every bit of work that I get that isn't an existing client, it comes through networking. So while the title of the book describes myself, I was a reluctant networker, didn't really understand what it was about and how to do it. What I've found is it's allowed me to have a freelance career where I work from home, get to take holidays when I want to, work on interesting, very varied projects. So I've seen how it can work. And what I sort of want to reassure you is I haven't undergone some personality makeover and suddenly become this out there guy who loves to go to networking breakfast, lunches and dinners. I'm a very effective networker without being this, really extrovert. So we're going to do a quick poll. Because just to get everybody involved. So before, I think Rich is going to launch it in a second. Want to ask, so if you had to choose, which one would you describe yourself as? So are you a reluctant networker? So you might be going, yeah, I know this networking thing, it is good, but really, do I have to? Or on the other side, are you one of the natural networkers where you go, what's the big deal? Come on, let's just get on with it. So can we try calling out the poll, please?
Can people see that poll or not yet?
So is it the
what type of networker are you?
I can't see it.
Okay.
Came up when I joined, so I've already answered it.
I'm going to relaunch the poll. I'm going to clear I'm going to clear the answer.
There we go.
Please have a go. Do we think that that's the end? So I'll give you another 5 seconds for anybody else, and I'm going to end the poll so we can see the results. Feels like the Eurovision Song Contest, and the results are
drum roll.
Drum roll. Share the results.
There we go. Yeah.
83% reluctant networker.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, I do this poll every time, and there's an element of, because the talk's called The Reluctant Networker, it's a little bit self-selecting. But apart from one talk, we've always had at least 2/3, at least 67% who would go, I'm a reluctant networker. And I think, I found that very reassuring. When I started networking, I think I was about 35, I really thought I was the only person who found it difficult, and everyone was breezing in and out of networking events and doing brilliantly. And it's not true. I do believe this is more than half of us would describe themselves as reluctant networkers. So I think the message is, you're not alone, or we're not alone. A lot of people find it difficult. But what hopefully I can take you through is it is about your mindset, how you think about networking. And as Richard alluded to, we do it all the time with our friends in our social life. So it's just when it becomes about business, suddenly we can get some sort of hang-ups about it. And as I said, I've found lots of ways to do it that I find quite enjoyable, but more importantly, very effective in helping me, have my own freelance career. That's meant I've been my own boss for the last 15 years. So I'll keep going. So here we go. So I think, to just elaborate on this a bit, the trouble with networking, why a lot of people have hang-ups, is it's got a bit of a bad reputation. And when I've asked people, why don't you like networking, I get two things. So one is this, and I know for the last 12 months we've not been able to do this, but when you say networking to people, they automatically think of networking events. And then they're told you've got to turn up in a room like this. You might not know anyone. You've got to work a room full of strangers, and don't leave until you've got 5 business cards and lots of leads. And I know a lot of people, myself included, sort of go, I'd rather watch paint dry than do that sort of thing. So that's the first. And then the other one, I get it. So I just like this quote, but I highlight the important bit. So don't let people treat you like a cigarette, use you when they need you and throw you when they're done. And somebody described it to me quite well. He said, oh yes, he said, it's just a politically correct term for using people to get what you want. So, and two answers to that. So one is, going to events is networking, but it's only one of many, many ways to network. I spend a lot of my time networking. Very little of that time is going to events like this. There are lots and lots of other ways to do it that most of us find more enjoyable, and I also think more productive. We'll touch on some of those later. And then, on this one, it's just not true. If you are using people to get what you want, you are not selling. You are not networking. It's sort of selling in disguise, dressed up as networking. And I'll come on in a second. So my definition of networking is definitely not this. And so I think these are two things I want to challenge people's mindsets. If you think this is what networking is about, that's probably why you might think, oh, really, do I have to do it? So, and I like this quote instead. So I think this guy with a name like Zig Ziglar must be American, an author and salesman. So he said, you'll get all you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want. So that, if you go back to that, it's definitely not using people to get what you want. He's saying do the opposite. Just spend your time helping other people and you'll be amazed at what you get in return. Now, I think there's a balance here. It isn't just about helping people, but it is amazing. We've all been on the receiving end of getting help from other people. And then because of that, we're incredibly willing to help them in return. So I like this as a mindset for your networking. So my definition of what is networking really is, so I said it's a lifelong approach to building professional relationships based on mutual support to help you have a successful and enjoyable career. And I've highlighted in big, so lifelong, so that it's not about you only do it when you need something. So, oh, I need a job, or in my line as a consultant, if I have a period where I haven't got any work, or I better do some networking. Really important to view this as just something that you're doing throughout your career. It's true, when you're busy in a job, you might have less time to do it, but you should still be doing some networking. And then, yes, if you're in a quiet period, if you need a job, you can do more. But it's really important to view it as a lifelong thing that you do. And then this point back to Zig Ziglar, it's relationships based on mutual support. You should be thinking every opportunity. So this isn't just about what do I want, but how can I help you, whoever you're interacting with at the time. I do. So I know, so I've started to do quite a lot of talks for students, for sixth formers, and I know this is a relatively, certainly by my standards, young audience. And a lot of young people say to me, yeah, but how can I help other people? I'm networking with older people, they've got all the experience, all the contacts, how can I help? And yet when I talk to the older people, one of the things a lot of organizations say is we need to get more young people in, we need to get digital natives. There's all sorts of things, whatever you've done, where you will be able to help your contact. So it's really important when you are interacting with people, even if you think, oh, I'm young, they're old, they've got the context to be on the lookout for how can I help you as well. Is that all okay? Does it make sense so far? Good. So moving on. So these are my top 10 learning. So basically last year it was the 10th anniversary of the book, so I thought, oh, let's do it. How can I recognize it? So I came up with my top 10 learning from networking. So what I'm going to do, I'm literally just going to list them all, read them out, and then I'm going to focus on 3, and then we'll do a breakout, and then you can come back and tell me, could you talk a bit more about some of the others? So the first one says start with the relationship and not the transaction. One, great relationships open up your network to network. And by the way, at the end, I can show you this article is published on LinkedIn. So if anybody wants to read not just the titles, but a bit more about it, you can have it. So no need to take notes or write any of this down. Third one, reluctant networkers can still be highly effective networkers. Number 4, networking is not just for the owners, bosses, and salespeople. Number 5, it's a two-way thing. Give as much as you take. Number 6, time equals value. Keep investing. Number 7, so many reasons to keep in touch. Number 8, LinkedIn is your friend. Number 9, quality over quantity. Deepen existing relationships. And then the last one, which was written last year. So online is the new face-to-face. Blend the best of digital and physical. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to talk about these 3. I thought they'd be the most relevant for all of you guys. But as I say, after the breakout groups, if you want me to talk about any of the others, that's I'm very happy to do that. So starting off this, start with the relationship and not the transaction. This is, I think, at the heart of the issue that reluctant networkers have with networking. So that, we might go on a course, and the course will teach you, how to work the room, and, how to get all these business cards and get all these leads. And people find that quite challenging. So part of the issue with that is that we worry about, oh, it's just about what do I want, what do I need? And I think my experience when people try and sell stuff to me, that my kind of, I put this barrier up, a block, and go, I'm a bit resistant to it. And I've been to a load of networking events, I don't know if any of you have, where the first thing they ask everyone to do, I was at one recently where we got just before lockdown, we got a profile of everybody. So you had to write, what do you do? And then we were asked to stand up and first thing was give our 30-second elevator pitch. So, who am I? What do I do? So that's all about selling, which makes people feel uncomfortable. And then the other thing they said was, and based on people's profiles, who would you like to have a one-to-one with? And when it was my turn to stand up, I said, I don't know who I want to have a one-to-one with, because just reading somebody's job title, I'm not really interested in that. I want to start with who you are. And I think, so this takes a lot of the pressure out of networking is don't think about the transaction, start with the relationship. You know, we're all human beings, we're collaborative, we like to get to know people. And so my advice for any networker, but certainly for reluctant networkers, is to, you know, when you meet somebody new, whether it's at an event or in a one-to-one, when you are having a catch up with somebody who you haven't seen for a while, don't just get straight down to business. Take a bit of time to find out who they are. You know, I'm less interested in somebody's title and their role. I want to know, you know, are they a father or a mother? Are they a musician? You know, I think Matt came on at the start and he had some keyboards in the background. I go, oh, you know, you're a musician. We end up talking about guitars. I'm more interested in that kind of stuff first, so that I can get to know who you are as a human being. And once we've done that, then let's talk about business. And the key thing with this is once you've built a bit of a relationship, doing the more transactional bit of networking becomes a lot easier, because I know you a little bit and how can I help, rather than this approach where you come sort of piling in with, this is what I want, I need this job, can you help me, can you give me some leads? And that just, you know, the person doing it feels under pressure, and the person on the receiving end, well, their sort of barriers go up. And does that make sense? Yeah, good. A few people nodding. That's the only trouble with the screen bit. I can't see the whole gallery view as well. Otherwise, I can't see what I've got on my slides. So anyway, so that was learning number one, and it's number one for a reason. I think it really is at the heart of good networking. Is think about it as start with a relationship, and after that, the transactions, the benefits will flow. So the second one I wanted to pick out, and again, and say particularly because you're a relatively young audience, and my observation. So I only started networking when I was 35, and I think back now, what a waste of sort of 15 years. The first 15 years of my career, I just didn't do it. I was in, you know, paid jobs, and then I get a headhunter, they ring me up, I go to another job, and I just wasn't doing any of that relationship building. And the key thing to realize is because it's this long-term, lifelong thing, if you view it as it's like you're planting seeds, and these seeds need a bit of watering, you know, and then most of them survive, maybe one or two don't, but then they turn into little trees, and then over time turn into the big oak tree. These relationships, the sooner you start, so sort of my kind of suggestion to the sixth formers and students is, you know, what's holding you back? You know, the clock is ticking, get started now. And it may be that, you know, you have a meeting with somebody ostensibly because you're looking for a job and they can't help you find a job. But if you then keep in touch with them, and one of the things I've got on the list is LinkedIn is a great way to keep in touch with pretty much most people I know are on LinkedIn in a professional capacity. And then I keep in touch with them and just periodically send them a little message. Maybe if we get a chance to have a catch up over the years, that is building, that's nurturing these trees. And the ones that, you know, when you get to the nice healthy tree, big old acorns, maybe that is in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Those relationships are incredibly powerful. So my suggestion to all young people here is get started, because the sooner you start, the quicker these trees start to grow. And so even if when you're talking to somebody, you come away from the chat going, well, I'm not sure I really got anything out of that. Don't view it as transactionally as that. View it as I'm building a long-term relationship. And with a whole load of them, nothing may ever come from it. But from one or two, you might find in a year or 5 years or 10 years, something amazing happens. And I've certainly had a lot of stories over the last 15 years. We won quite a large bit of business from somebody who we'd worked with 15 years ago. And apart from occasionally sending him a little note on LinkedIn, no contact at all. And suddenly he rings us up out of the blue going, oh, here's some work. And we sort of go, why did you think of us? And, oh, well, I see all your posts on LinkedIn. So we were just gradually, so it wasn't like we were having to do lots of going and seeing him regularly, just keeping in touch was building that relationship. And when he gave us the work, he didn't tender it to any other consulting company. He just gave it straight to us. So that's the value of building over time without having to do, vast amounts of work. That's my second one I wanted to share with you. And then the third one, because we're living in these sort of digital times, was to talk a bit about, so in this climate where, you maybe do think networking is all about going to networking events, but hold on, there aren't any networking events apart from some online stuff. How do I network in a digital world? And actually, it's been quite interesting to see how people have networked over the last 12 months. And so I've got two things. So on the left-hand side, this is a photograph like Matt did about, this is a networking group I was in. It's a very small, this is the whole networking group. There's only 12 of us, and we meet every 2 months. And before lockdown, we would meet in London. And because Eric, he lives in France, so he never turns up. I live down here in Southampton, so I turn up occasionally, and someone else is living in Bristol. What we found was we never tended to get more than 6 or 7 people coming to our meetings. All of a sudden, now we do it on Zoom, everybody turns up. And so it is a really good way. There's a lot of very powerful networking that is done by groups on Zoom. And the ones that do it well do a lot of, we'll have breakout groups. I quite like, might have a guest speaker, and then for a while you get put into a group with 2 or maybe 3 people, and you have a little chat so you can actually get to know people, and then you come back together again. So online networking groups, they're not as nice as meeting in person, but what is good about them is they're very sort of efficient, and you end up with more people coming along than maybe you would have met had you had a physical meeting. And then on the right hand side, so before lockdown started in March, I never did any sort of one-to-one networking other than on person. I might occasionally ring somebody up, but so all of my one-to-one networking was only if, my contacts in London, if I happen to be in London, I might manage to see them. All my contacts abroad, I'd only get to see them if I happen to be in their city. And what I've noticed over the last year, Zoom catch-ups just have become completely the norm and acceptable. And yes, it's not as good as meeting someone in a coffee shop or down the pub, but I've had Zooms with people in Canada, America, Australia, South Africa, I think, in other parts of the UK that I wouldn't otherwise see. So I've ended up networking with a lot more people than I would have done in the old days. So it's very, and you don't have to spend time traveling. You can do these quick with people I know already. I might just do a half-hour catch up. Whereas if I'm meeting someone for coffee, we've both got to drive, that's an hour. So it's quite inefficient seeing people in person, as doing it on Zoom or Teams, however you like to do it, is a very efficient way. And you can talk to anyone and everyone in your network, regardless of location. So I think, the great thing, it looks like we might finally be coming out of lockdown and not having to go do it again. So I think there's a great opportunity going forward to blend the best of. So when you do go and have a coffee or a beer with a glass of wine with somebody, it's pretty special. But there's a limit to how many people you can do that with. So I would do that, but also keep going with the one-to-ones on Zoom. Is that all right? So, okay, I've done a lot of talking. So we're going to stop. We're going to have a 10-minute breakout. I think Rich is going to put it in groups. So 3 questions, and you don't have to answer all of them. But so one is, what, if any, are your hang-ups about networking? And are they valid, or are they just unhelpful stories that you tell you? As I say, I think it's really important to get inside your head and think about how you think about networking. If you've got time, and any tips you want to share, how do you network? What what do you do that works? And then the last bit is, because we'll come back together, because we're not going to have time, I think, to go over all of them, which of the 7 other ones would you like for me to talk about? So I've given Richard a copy of the top 10, and I'll be in the group so we can have a look at those, or just any questions you want to ask. We're going to do 10 minutes. Is that right, Richard?
Yeah. Well, we're a smaller group, so we should be able to do it in 10 minutes. I might give it 12 minutes, depending on how much time we have. Neil, I'm going to assume that if I put you in one room and I'll stay in the other, what we can do is after 5 minutes, we'll swap each other out. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm going to basically create 2 breakout rooms, and just bear with me. And I'm going to assign that automatically. And then I'm going to basically assign me and Neil into the relevant rooms. So let's go into those rooms. So it's the same crowd. They are on a 60 second ticker, and they'll come and join us in about 45 seconds. But did anyone else have any tips and tricks about how to do more better networking?
We didn't get to that. We're still stuck on the first question.
I think it's just definitely a learning process for me anyway.
Yeah, I've definitely found that, 5 years ago when I started networking, I was completely terrible, but I would say that I'm markedly better now than I was back then. So yeah, it is just time and practice.
And so how are you managing that now? I mean, it's sometimes when you get into a full-time gig and things like that, it's difficult to carve out the time. So how are you managing to do the networking, Alex?
I haven't done any networking really.
Welcome back to the main room, and we have Neil back. Thank you for that conversation. Back to you, Neil.
Right, let me just make it. So, right, so we've only got another sort of 15 minutes. So what I suggest, I'm very happy to carry on, but I'm not gonna, if I talk to all of these slides, it's going to take too long. So are any of these particularly of interest? Would anybody like to go, oh, could you explain a bit about this? Which of those might be worth a bit more time?
One thing I would recommend, because I think it's absolutely essential, is that two-way thing, the importance of reciprocity, which is providing value in every single touch point and every single conversation. I don't know if you've already touched on that already.
It was sort of, the Zig Ziglar quote. But it is at the heart of good networking. I think it makes people feel this pressure of, oh, I need something, and then we all feel awkward. So I think in the group I was in, Michael was talking about, and I've heard lots of other people myself as well, that events where you go, I do all the chit chat, and then the back of my mind, I'm starting to worry about, but I need to turn it to business and I need to get something out of this. And it just all feels a bit uncomfortable. Whereas I think if you're having this just two-way chat where, maybe today I can help you, maybe next time you help me, maybe we just end up having a nice chat and nobody can help each other out this time, it just becomes a much more fun activity. And I think this, if you think about that first learning, start with a relationship and not the transaction. If you've got that relationship with people, and then they say something where you go, oh, I could help them with that, it becomes incredibly easy, because you go, well, that guy, Richard, he's a nice guy and he needs a bit of help. Why not? Yeah, let me do it. And then the relationship becomes more one of equals, and it becomes enjoyable. Why wouldn't you help somebody when they, say something and ask for a bit of help, rather than this, oh, he's trying to flog me something, and then you become a bit defensive, and it all becomes just not very enjoyable. So, the two-way thing is absolutely at the heart of good networking. And yes, it's probably true that at the start of your career, you are taking more than you're giving. But I think if you have that mindset of always, whenever I'm interacting with somebody, being on the lookout for how can I help you, even if you can't, it becomes your network, it becomes a much more enjoyable activity.
Given that 83% of us have self-selected as reluctant networkers, did we touch on that 3? Reluctant networkers can still be highly effective networkers.
Yeah, okay. So when I did one of the first talks, after I published the book, it was quite a few years ago, I got introduced as a converted reluctant networker, and I reflected on that a bit and just thought, oh, and I said, actually, no, when I started out, I'd call myself an ineffective, reluctant networker. And now I would say I'm an effective, reluctant networker. So I'm still who I am. I'm wired a certain way. I'm sort of quite introvert. The thought of going to that picture of those networking events, with a room full of strangers, I do it sometimes. And when I do it better than I used to do it, but I don't enjoy it. So I'm still a reluctant networker. But my point, what I've managed to, the career I've had for the last 15 years, where everything comes through networking, despite the fact that I'm a reluctant networker. So yes, there are some natural networkers who love to go to events and work a room. But I know a lot of people who are more like me, who are incredibly effective at networking, because it's about building relationships. You think back to the oak trees. I would much rather have a few really solid oak trees. They give me far more than being on Instagram with thousands and thousands of followers who kind of know who I am, but they don't really know what I do. Somebody doesn't know what I do, when they come across a great opportunity, they're not going to think of me. So I spend time on, fewer relationships, but much deeper ones. And that's what's allowed me to have this, it's pretty varied, consulting and some coaching and some networking talks. I love the variety, and it allows me to say I've been at home for the last 15 years. So as my kids have grown up, a lot of dads of my age, they missed out on all of that because they had what I call proper jobs, and they're all pretty stressed. They probably earn more money than I have, but I've earned enough. And I've coached their cricket teams. I've sang in a choir with my wife because I'm an effective networker. So I do all that one-to-one stuff. And as a result, my clients then, I might 5 years, nothing happens. And then you get called out of the blue. Oh, Neil, hi, how are you? Yeah, I've got a piece of work for you. So I guess the point is, just because you might be one of the 87% in this group, please don't tell yourself that you can't be a good networker.
Does anyone else have any specific questions or sections that Neil would like to dive in? If you don't, I would potentially mention Neil, and we'll bring it to the floor to anyone else. But I think LinkedIn being your friend, I think there's one thing about the mindset about networking and being in the right frame of mind, and there's the other side of the logistics of it, to facilitate one-to-one meetings. How does online tools out there make it easier for our Winchester Creatives community to kind of network better and more effectively?
So can you all see the LinkedIn slide?
We can. If you want, you can make it the bigger slide.
Make it bigger. Yeah. Okay. So I don't know enough about your community, and it's possible there are some professions where LinkedIn is less important. So I've got a lot of doctor friends where, some of them are on LinkedIn, but a lot of them aren't. It's not that necessary. And with the creative industry, I think LinkedIn probably is pretty important, but there may well be other channels. And as a result, probably what I'm going to say about LinkedIn, if this isn't the right channel for you, whatever you use, it can do similar things for you. But if LinkedIn is helpful, what I find, so I go on LinkedIn pretty much every day, in working days anyway, Monday to Friday. But I don't spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. It's 5-10 minutes in the morning, and then if I need to use it as a research tool to find people, find information. But I've just highlighted a few things that I do that I think are particularly effective. So the congratulate Sharon Flood for starting a new position. So one of the things I find really good with LinkedIn is the notifications page. And that will tell you who in your network has got a birthday, a work anniversary, have been promoted, started a new job. And it's just, and then you just click congratulate, say happy birthday, whatever. And it's an incredibly easy way to keep in touch with someone in your network. So if you think back to the oak trees, sowing seeds, this is watering those seeds. So I will, but I also, it pre-populates, it'll say happy birthday, exclamation mark. And when it was my birthday, I got quite a lot of messages, and nobody could Some of them couldn't be bothered to write anything extra. They just did the robot happy birthday. And I have to admit, I find that quite impersonal. I will never send anyone just the standard message. I'll always take a minute to just send them a little, oh, how are you doing? What have you been up to? If you've got time, it'd be great to have a catch up. And that has led to, you usually get a reply, oh, thanks, Neil, thumbs up. But you often get more than that. You might get oh yeah, let's have a chat. I haven't spoken to you for a while. And that's an extreme. So I haven't got this example I put here was a different one. So I congratulate somebody who started. I used to work with him, hadn't spoken to him for 20 years, and he then got a job as a CEO down in Portsmouth. And because I'm local, I sent a thing going, oh, Keith, I haven't spoken to you for 20 years, but I live locally. If you've got time for a coffee, it'd be great to see you. And we went and had a coffee. And 2 months later, I was doing a project for him. Yeah, only because I congratulated him on LinkedIn. So notifications is really good. And then doing posts, so telling people what you've been up to. This example here with Simon Payne. So I put a post. I did a bit of lecturing at Manchester Business School on internet retailing and how the internet's transforming the shopping experience. Did a little post. Simon comes back to me. Anything you can share with me? And off the back of that, I ended up doing a half-day session for this client of his that I got paid money for. And then on the right, one of the things my colleagues does is he likes, so we've all can list skills on LinkedIn, and he's very good at going on and finding his connections and endorsing them for skills. And that's part of this, two-way thing. It's giving, because all you're doing is just being nice to somebody. Really easy to do, and he does quite a lot of that. And he had one example where that afternoon, having endorsed somebody who he used to be this guy's boss, I immediately came back and went, oh, thanks, Steve, that's great. And later that afternoon rang him up and said, I need some help with a consulting project. And if he hadn't endorsed that guy, we would not have won that piece of work. So it's incredible what goes on LinkedIn. In addition to, it's a great way to keep in touch with all these people that you meet at events or online. You connect with them on LinkedIn. You can then, when it's their birthday or their work anniversary, send them a little note. So it's this sort of hub, central point, allowing you to water those trees so they start to become big, great relationships. And it's a great source of information as well. The reports, free stuff that's out there. You can, if you join groups that are related to your spheres of interest, there's all sorts of free information that you can get that allow you to do your job better. And as I was touched on in the first group I was in, one of the things when you're thinking about why am I networking, it isn't just about to get a job. It is about to help you do your job well. Just all that information. If you know people well, and the projects that we do, I'd say on average we probably know 80% of the answers to what our clients need. We very rarely know everything, but it doesn't matter because we've got a good network. So we go, oh, I'm an expert in this, and this, but I don't know about that, but I know so and so, and you bring them up and have a chat, and because you've got a great relationship, people are incredibly willing to help. So I'd say encourage you to think of LinkedIn as it is your friend, help you get a job, but then once you've got the job, do that job well.
Thank you for that, Neil. So in the 5 minutes we got left, if we can go back to the top 10 tips, just wanted to come back to anybody to ask Neil any questions based on his experience. Feel free to ask them, or if you want him to dive into any of these other sections, please feel free to let you know. And at the end, we're going to give you a bit of a guide. There's a template that Neil's going to be sharing with you, and I'll do a bit of a wrap up with some other practical advice. But anybody else got some questions?
So this seems kind of random, but what has been your best networking experience?
Gosh, if I make it purely transactional, and therefore I'm not sure this is a true answer to your question, but it's quite an interesting one. So I I got asked. So I'm in. If you think about number 5, I'm very keen to help other people, and I don't expect anything in return. It's just a good thing to do. If I can help you, why wouldn't I do that? So somebody asked me quite a few years ago now. He said, "Oh, I've got a friend who's just gone freelance, and Neil, you've been doing it for a few years. Would you mind having a chat with him? Because just pass on some tips." So I was absolutely delighted. We had an hour-long chat on the phone, and I was in give mode. So for literally 55 minutes, I was just dishing out. Here's what I've learned, my experience. Warts and all. I've got a few scars from what hasn't worked and things. And then right at the end, he said, "Oh, you said you don't do." It was labour productivity in your consulting business, do you? Because I've got this lead. And it's not what I do at all. But if you can do it, let me make an introduction. And it's not what I do, but my business partner does a lot of that kind of stuff. And so that phone call led to us winning 4 projects with this client, all because I was doing number 5 with no expectation of anything in return. I've done lots of other phone calls that are very similar, and I've not won big pieces of work as a result, but it's a nice story of how if you just give, good stuff happens in return.
Does anyone have any other questions before we stop this slide and then go to the general gallery view? Should we stop the slide share there and then go to?
Do you want? Shall I just show that the template one?
Yes, please. Great.
Yeah, if I just do that. So I've sent this to Richard, and I guess you'll post it somewhere that people can. Here we go. So it's purely if you want to kind of go right. Actually, I'm going to take this seriously. I encourage people to be specific. So what are you going to do differently? And so I've just created this little action planning template. If it's helpful, great. If it isn't, don't worry. And you could use, so I've listed the top 10 learnings that we've touched on. And then in the middle, just to think a little bit about what are the networking activities that you enjoy and find easy, and try and focus on those rather than, and then note down the things that you find harder. So for me on the right would be going to networking events. And so my advice would be, if you find going to networking events difficult, online or in person, don't make that the whole focal point of your new networking campaign. Do a little, try and improve, but focus on the things that you find good. And then when you're thinking about specific activities, you could put them into 1 or 3 buckets. So one is about raising your profile. So what can you do so that more people know about you? And in the middle bit is this deepening existing relationship. So watering the tree rather than planting new seeds. Who would be good people for you? Maybe you think, oh, I haven't spoken to them for a while. And then think about who might be new people that you get in. So that's to say that will be available, Richard. Is that right, to anybody?
Yeah. I'll post it on the community network. And if anybody else wants it who's not part of the community network, just feel free to email me and I'll send it along.
Yeah. So literally that's it. Please do get in touch. I'm very happy. I do mentoring as well. If you've got questions about networking, I want to help out. So very open to get in touch if you want to say the link. If you want the article, it's on my LinkedIn profile. Happy to connect on LinkedIn. If you've got questions, if you want to network, if you hear of another organization that wants somebody to come and do a similar talk, just let me know. Very happy to. So that's the end of my no more slides.
So if I could just ask everyone to give Neil a kind of silent round of applause. So I'm just in terms of, well done that. Just to wrap up some key themes there. So what you give is what you return. So this important point about reciprocity, the energy that you give into the university will come back to you at some point. It might not be immediate, but it won't necessarily come to you in your doors if you don't be proactive in that regard. Use the template. And the thing that I would layer onto that is, normally when I do my coaching and mentoring, I would be saying to you, how can you have 40 meaningful conversations a month? And at that point you go, oh my goodness, how would I do that? And when I say a meaningful conversation, I'm seeing about half an hour conversation with somebody you don't know. And the truth is that that's easily achievable if you break it down. So unbeknownst to you, tonight, you've managed to have a meaningful conversation with at least 15 people talking about the subject matter. So you have something in common. So that's ticked 15 people off your 40 people target. So then if you have some one-to-one conversations, maybe you have, so Ella's had 4 very meaningful conversations with her Instagram lives. So that's got her to like nearly 20 really good conversations. And all she has to do then is to go to another event. And where it works really well is that if you become a speaker at an event. So Neil has now connected with all of you. You've connected with him. You see him as the expert in this area, and you've got to go to him if you have a question. So please, please, please take him up on that kind offer, link in with him, follow his content, like and share and support that content. The final thing I'm going to sort of leave you with is that there is a practical logistical thing about the volume game. So the more meetings and conversations you have, the more seeds you will plant that will have the opportunity to grow for the future. And if you're looking for a tool that is going to be helpful for you to do that, there is this thing called Lunch Club AI. I sat on it for about 18 months thinking, what is this thing? And then lockdown happened, and it's a phenomenal thing. I highly, highly recommend it. So this is an invitation code. I don't get anything from it. I don't care if I get anything from it. They give me tokens, and I have no idea what I do with them. But what this thing does is if you sign up and you create a profile, you put loads of tags of what you're interested in, it will automatically connect you with like-minded people outside of your network to have a one-to-one serendipitous talk. It puts half an hour, you say you're available from a Thursday morning or a Friday afternoon, and you'll say you're available for 5 chats or 4 chats. It will basically then pair you up with somebody, and then you can look at their profiles and then say, do I want to speak to them? And I would just say yes, because the algorithms are superb and they'll always match you with someone. Now, I was probably averaging about 3 chats a week with these guys, and then sometimes I do more, but between 2 and 3 a week. And if you were doing 3 a week, at least one of those conversations would be valuable. And my tip is, in any single networking conversation, lead with value. Have your boilerplate when somebody says, tell me about your story. Just use this as a practicing tool to get your story straight and slick. So the first ones are going to be a bit rusty, but I tell you what, when you get to your 4th conversation, your 5th conversation, 6th conversation, 10, it gets slicker and slicker and slicker. And all you have is an ingredient, which is, I'll tell you my story, they tell you your story, and then somewhere there's some serendipity in between the two. So if you need a low risk sort of environment to try this out, the reason why it's low risk is you don't really know them, they don't really know you. The worst thing can happen is that you've just wasted half an hour of your time. But what's brilliant is that it's taken away all of the logistics of reaching out. Do you want a meeting? When are you available? I'm available here. And it's done it for you. So if you are looking to do something that gets you to maybe 40 meaningful conversations a month is too much, but 20 meaningful conversations a month, I would say join events, as Martin Reed has suggested, come to Winchester Creatives or other things. Indeed, get involved in sort of Clubhouse if you want to. But this is my big tip to any of you. If you want one-to-one meetings and get practiced at networking, this is a fantastic opportunity for you. And just sign up to 1 or 2, see how it goes, and you'll start to get into the groove of it. And every single conversation you have, if you lead with value, then what will happen is you'll plant a few seeds, and that might lead to a tree or an oak of a relationship later on. Thank you for this evening. Thank you also to the wonderful Neil Munz-Jones. I have to say, for the people who lean into what we're doing in Winchester Creatives and approach us with their expertise, we are truly, truly, truly grateful. So please take him up on the offer, have a one-to-one session with him. He's told you he has hour-long conversations with providing great value. Ask for 15 minutes of his time and he'll give you half an hour. And I will share that template with you. We are coming to near the end of our first cohort, 6 months of mentoring, which should happen sometime at the end of April. We hope to have a bit of a shindig of everyone, and I'm hoping to get a keynote speaker, particularly to talk to us about sort of personal branding. But in the meantime, please support Ella, Dan B, Matt, and the team with all the social media. Please raise our voice, let people know how we can mend the gap. And also, please share the video of this event when it comes around. Does anyone else have any other questions we have before we wrap up? Thank you very much indeed. Lovely to see you. And don't forget, the next event is our first Friday of the month, which is going to come up. It's at the moment due to be on like Good Friday. And I don't know if everyone wants to do that. I'm happy to crack on with that. But if you prefer to move it to the week after, just let me know. Last time we had a magician. This time around, it will just be bring a drink and let's hang out and hear everyone's stories. And for those of you who've got jobs or in the process of getting interviews and jobs, congratulations. For those of you still hunting, have hope. It will come. And whatever we can do to help you, just let us know. Thank you very much indeed. Looking forward to seeing you at the next event.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
See ya.